Hey everyone, my name is Alex, and thank you so much for watching this masterclass series that I'm doing on how to make a no-budget feature film. I'm doing something kind of out of the ordinary by giving this away for free, but hoping that you'll pay to get this content. I'm very confident on what I have to say about making films, so that's why I'm doing what I'm doing with this series. I would definitely appreciate the financial support, so if you find any of these videos helpful and you want to buy the entire series from us, you can find the entire series by itself, or I'll also do a package deal with cashing out. Or if you could help me out by buying my film on any of the platforms it's out on, it'd be very much appreciated as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I really hope you find this series helpful. The next part of this is going to be about budgeting. So I'll kind of talk to you a little bit about budgeting. So I've created this this document in Excel. So there's a lot of software you can use, such as Movie Magic software, I believe it's called. Just budgeting software in general, but I don't really like that. I like to keep everything in one place and make it a bit more customizable. So when I'm coming up with a budget, my budget for this is pretty, it's not that great because, to be honest, with cashing out, I didn't really have a budget. I kind of just spent things as I went, and I tried to just get my costs low. So if you can see here in the middle of my Excel sheet, this is everything that I've spent on cashing out thus far. Everything in this gray section right here is stuff that I've spent just on production, and everything in the white down here is on post-production. So full disclosure, if you can see here on my kind of breakdown, total production was about little over 5,800. So 5,800. All of this stuff right here is 5,800. So things that I spent money on. So we have, so like right here, I got labeled snacks. I bought some equipment and things like that. I helped pay for gas for the actors, for travel, locations. I had to pay for the venue that we did the dance scene at. But over here off to the left, I tried to estimate what I thought everything was going to cost me. So like right here, about 1,500 on craft services. I needed to get some grippy stuff. So I have like medical tape, first aid kit, fire extinguisher, things like that. Money that I spent on props, what I was able to do or what I thought it would cost. And then some other stuff like right here, festival fees, QC process, insurance, things that I didn't end up using, but things that I wanted to estimate for. So as far as budgeting, the biggest advice I can give with making a film, either whether it's a short or like a web series or even a full feature, is you need to keep your overhead costs as low as possible. You want to you can still take care of people. So don't get me wrong there. You might not be able to pay them up front, but you can offer things for them, such as paying for their traveling, offering to do things like reels or just little editing projects for them if you need to. Like, you need to figure out how you could pay them back without, it doesn't necessarily need to be monetarily, but just being able to offer them something for giving up their time. So I think that's really important in feeding them. Like, you cannot skimp out on food. So you need to pay for that. Chicken fettuccine Alfredo was a big hit on my set. We ate that a lot. You can come up with like 5 or 6 different meals that you can rotate around, because theoretically your shoot shouldn't be that long. My shoot was pretty long. It was about 26 days total. But, your shoot doesn't need to be that long. But if you're only having, if you have like a really short script and it's mostly in one location and it only takes 10 to 12 days to shoot, you can have 5 or 6 different meals that you can choose from, and you might only have to use those 2 or 3 times. But have some options, and take care of the crew. So like I said, this is everything that I spent for the movie. The biggest expenses were I had to buy hard drives. because I shot with a Blackmagic camera and we had about 12 terabytes of footage. So I spent around $600 on hard drives. I spent like $600 or $700 on the venue for the dance scene. I spent about what was the other big expense? I bought lavalier mics. That was $400. About 3 of those. Let's see here. It's just a lot of little things. The poker, the big poker table at the end, that was $300. It was, I think I reimbursed when I paid for the travel expenses for the main actors. That was about like, I don't know, probably $1,500. So like, once you get to about there, that's probably $3,000 or so. It's probably, I'm just estimating in my head, but about $3,000 or so. And then you got the crafty, the props, and then the wardrobe left. As far as like wardrobe and things like that, we tried to stick to having the cast and crew wear their own clothes. But like they work at a pizza restaurant, which I needed to have t-shirts for. So I got t-shirts made. But it's just like a lot of little things. Not everything you're going to be able to budget for, but those are at least the big expenses. So budget for just a couple $100 for just props and a couple $100 for wardrobe, and get your props and things like that from thrift stores. So there was a lot of like thrift store things that we used for cashing out. But yeah, you could label, or you could, I would say there's, cashing out is one of those films where I needed to spend some money. But then again, there's another film that I worked on over the summer, Peppersburg, which that film only cost a few $100s. We were able to keep the days short, mostly worked with the same people. It was a pretty quick film. That film probably cost way less than $500 to make just for production. So it just depends on what your needs are and what you're trying to accomplish. If you're kind of stuck on what kind of movie you can make a movie that, takes place in one location, or just like with Peppersburg, we purposely made it look cheap, like a mockumentary, because, it was easy to budget for that. So, just keep those kinds of things in mind. If you're trying to do things with a lot of special effects and things like that, that's where you're going to get into trouble. But if you, like I said, are doing your best to keep your overhead costs low, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to do this for a reasonable amount of money. Like if I could go back, I probably could have made cashing out for half the cost that it was, but I wanted to take care of people, and I didn't really have any reason not to spend the money. If I would have known what I've known now, just how much it was going to cost me for post-production and getting the movie out there, I probably would have spent a little less. But, I wanted to take care of my cast and crew for doing the things that they did for me. So the last thing I want to talk about is funding. And one of the questions I get asked is, how did you fund cashing out? And the answer is I didn't. I paid for everything myself with money that I've worked for at my job. That's why I say keep your overhead costs low as possible, because somebody is probably not going to fund your project. And honestly, this is probably going to be how I make movies for a long time. I don't really anticipate anybody ever paying for my films. I'm probably going to have to pay for them myself, either through working or through profits from other projects that I've done. So I can't really tell you how to do that. There are definitely resources such as crowdfunding. You can try to go to investors if you just have those sort of connections, but I just don't. So that's why I try to keep everything as cheap as possible, so that way I can make these projects the way that I want to. And one of the nice things about not having investors on this movie, if it loses money, who cares? And if it makes money, great. It just goes back into my pocket, or the pocket, if I work out that kind of deal with the cast or the crew, it goes into their pockets as well. I don't have to worry about paying somebody else back. So that way I can make my movie the way that I want. And that's the best way to do things, I think. You don't want somebody else to own your art. If there's one piece of advice that I can give any artist, whether you're a filmmaker or not, is to keep all of the rights to your work. And that way you're able to license them out and make money that way. That's all it takes. You know, if you got something solid, somebody wants it, you know, that's fine, but don't give away your rights. Don't give away the rights to your art, your movie, you know, whatever. Keep those and make money off of them. You know, I'm not making a ton of money off my film, but cashing out, I spent around $15,000 on it from concept to distribution, and I've made almost a third of that back. If I would have just given that to a distributor, that wouldn't have happened that way. I made money off, you know, we'll get more into this in the distribution video, but I made money off the merch. I made money off the Blu-rays. I made money off ticket sales. I made money off the digital copies. And, you know, I have all these platforms that are coming up as well. If I would have just given that off to somebody else, I wouldn't have seen a dime of that money. And if I have seen a dime of that, it would have been very low. It wouldn't be the thousands that I've made back on it so far. So that's why I try to influence filmmakers who are in my position to do things themselves. Do everything yourself, because for one, it's going to be more rewarding to you. You're going to be able to keep everything. And, you know, you're going to be able to say it's 100% your product. It's not going to be somebody else's product.